Hi everyone, welcome to Third Coast Gaming News. Oh wait, we did news already. Okay, this is impressions actually. We're just kidding. Jokes. It is episode 30. Today is June 6th, 2021. I'm joined by my co-host Austin Taylor. Hello, hello.
That you are. It's me.
We are here. We've been playing some video games. I started playing this game called The Wild at Heart. I played two games last night. I got home from work and I had Game Pass and I was like, I'm just going to download some stuff. So I did. Now, I'm going to start with The Wild at Heart. That's a Game Pass game on Series S. And then the other thing I played was Necromunda Hired Gun, which is something I bought, and I'll get to that after we're talking about some of your stuff. But so The Wild at Heart is an indie game. It's a 4-person studio. It's developed by Moonlight Kids. It's their first game. And I think the project, they've been working on it since 2017. And yeah, it's 4 people. It is a very colorful game. It kind of reminds me of what's that one game where you're playing as the animals and you're running around the town and you just got back from college?
Um, that's Night in the Woods.
Kind of, the art style's kind of Night in the Woods. It's very like, it's kind of like a depiction of like Americana, like a graphic novel book is how I'll explain it. And it's you're doing some Pikmin stuff. So you're this kid and you are leaving home. You're running away from home because your dad's a shady alcoholic, and you kind of learn about this kid's backstory as you're playing the game more. Because in the very beginning,
Yeah.
the game opens up and you're in your house and you're kind of talking to yourself about the plan, and you're trying to get your food together, and you go outside and you find like it's it looks like a Ghostbusters backpack, but it's like a vacuum leaf blower
Yeah.
thing that you put on, and you have the Luigi's Mansion like suction thing, so you can blow stuff. So you'll use that to blow over like piles of leaves to get stuff under it. And then so you're leaving, you picked up some stuff outside, and then you left into the forest and you have some food, and you meet this dude in a jacket, and he gives you a crystal, and they're kind of like, they kind of use them as cell phones to communicate with each other. But you're in this like area going through. So I only played an hour of this, but this is all kind of the opening, and you meet these little like what I would call like forest people. They look like Pikmin. So you get
Yeah.
these yellow ones first, and you throw them, and they're immune to poison, which is like the first thing it tells you. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder what you do with that. You'll get to like some roadblocks where there's some like mushrooms, and they have like a poison cloud around them. So you'll throw them at the mushroom, and they'll break it, and then it'll kind of move you forward. And then later you get some diamond ones that'll break like diamond rocks or diamond like structures, pretty much. It's very cute. I love the music of this game. I had a couple bugs. I think this game came out like 2 or 3 days ago that I would throw. I'm just going to call them Pikmin. I would throw one of these Pikmin dudes, and they would get stuck in a falling animation somewhere.
Yeah.
And so far, you don't have a like recall your Pikmin button or a rejoin button. So if you throw a bunch of them and they're somewhere, you have to go walk over them to have them rejoin your like area around you to where those are your followers, which kind of sucks. But so far it's been pretty cool. It's I love the art style. It's $25 right now on PC, Mac, and Xbox, and it's on Series S. Let me see what else this is on as well. But it's enjoyable. I like it.
I guess like so like you've done what, like the first hour?
Correct.
Yeah, so right now what you're doing is mostly just like exploring a forest as
Yeah.
you like attempt to get away from home.
Yeah, I've been exploring the forest, meeting some new people, kind of trying to learn the basics of the game, pretty much.
There is like like the setup is like kind of, like it's kind of like abusive home life. But I imagine like once you get into the forest, like there is just an amount of whimsy that gets introduced.
Yeah, already this game is very whimsical and it's very jokey. Like the character, I enjoy the dialogue of the character, and it does like what I will describe as like the Animal Crossing like voice, which is just whenever characters talk, they do bada 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 bada
Yeah,
bada, which
the gibberish.
I like the gibberish, and then it's like it plays with like the '80s like art style, kind of like this game takes place in the '80s, and I think there's like a lot of '80s tech kind of in this forest. There's like you see arcades and CRTs and stuff.
Oh wow.
So it's cool so far.
All right. Yeah.
I think it might have co-op as well. There's like a second player, or it might be just like another person you meet in the forest who kind of will do different stuff with you.
That's interesting. That's cool.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. Um, you played some Resident Evil, didn't you, sir?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, as we got into, you know, the Resident Evil 8 sort of, or I should say Village, uh, has been out for a bit. I'm always like surprised at how much, like when I see people playing a Resident Evil game I can't play, I'm just like, what if I played a Resident Evil, the one that I can play?
Yeah, I
And
do that with stuff where if something new comes out, I'll play like the older version of it because it's cheaper or I have it already.
yeah, yeah, I don't do it that often, and I don't usually consider like Resident Evil like a franchise I have like strong feelings about. But then like I talk about its lore, and I'm like, oh wait, I'm into this, aren't I? So I like finally started Resident Evil 4, which is the old
Finally.
2005 classic, um, originally released for the GameCube, where you play as Resident Evil 2 protagonist Leon Kennedy, who now instead of being a rookie cop is like the coolest Secret Service agent, also a bit of a dork, and you just find yourself trapped in some random village somewhere in Spain as you
Yes.
look for the president's kidnapped daughter. Um, and so far, it's a lot of so far like this game is a lot of like going to a location where you can like find a relatively defensible position and holing up in there as like waves of enemies infected by some sort of biological weapon that turns them all into like just hyper aggressive people come at you.
Not zombies, but
No, not zombies. No.
they're basically zombies. They're just like fast zombies.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're given the same, like, their lives are given the same importance as zombies, just now they can use weapons, it starts out and they're brandishing hatchets at you and pitchforks. One of them has a chainsaw. Then, as you get to the castle, which I just arrived at,
Oh,
they start
nice.
having crossbows and catapult traps.
I used to always get stuck in the castle. The castle is like a difficulty checkpoint that if you are not able to get through that, like that game ramps up in the castle. They just start throwing people at you, and that's where they start like stealing Ashley and stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, especially because like once you catch up with Ashley, the game's like, oh, Ashley can get, like freaking kidnapped again. It's like, okay, I guess I had to worry about this all the time. But as you're going through the village, like with Ashley in tow, after like 4 hours of not having her, um, the game is so like very happy to just put her in a situation where like there's a dumpster, just be like, get in the dumpster, hide in the dumpster, no one will get her.
I got a boss
Um,
fight. Get in this dumpster. Let's go.
Yeah, yeah. The daughter of the president, just get in this dumpster real quick so I can go fight without having to worry about you. Because she also has her own health bar, right? Like Ashley Graham, for a very like justified reasons, is sort of the template for how not to do a escort mission, right? Because she has her own health bar. Like that's where she can only take like 2 hits from any enemy before she dies. She can get captured all the time. And because like we hadn't sort of thought about, I guess like giving her any sort of useful functionality, she doesn't do much of anything. She's not like an Ellie or an Elizabeth from BioShock Infinite, and those are like things I reference because those were like the first times that like I remember video games not having sort of terrible escort missions with AI, where like they will throw you ammo um, that's like in the environment and such to help you out. Actually, just kind of screams. And I don't mean to like diss on that character because like she is like she's a teenager, right? Like she's a kid who's lived um, in like the relative luxury of like having a parent who's in politics all her life. And even when you interact with her, like she is this character who seeks your approval a lot because when you meet up with one of the other characters in this game, Luis, who I believe is like a perhaps a doctor who has some sort of background with this virus that has spread across this village.
And has
He's
so much
asking,
swagger. Luis has
yeah,
the most
absolutely.
swagger.
Dude, that guy whips out like a red nine the first time you fight with him, and he's destroying dudes.
And I'm
And
just
red
like,
nine's
how
like
do I get
a
that
really
gun?
famous.
That gun, my
Yeah,
favorite pistol of the game. You take that through the end of the game, man.
yeah, I have that right now, and I think that's probably what's gonna happen. Like he meets Ashley, he's like, well, who's this, right? And Leon just says, don't worry, she's cool. And as soon as you say that, like Ashley's just like notably like encouraged by like Leon's approval. And so like a lot of the narrative like interactions with those two is like Leon doing something and actually like being excited to see him do cool stuff. Like there's a moment in that game where you're on these I almost want to say gondola, like you're suspended on these like platforms that are moving kind of like a ski lift, right? And as you're going down, there are enemies who are coming up, and you have to like kill these enemies. And every time you kill an enemy in this game, and this is the first time I'd seen it, every time you kill an enemy in this game, Ashley like pumps her fists. And she's like, "Yeah, get him, Leon." Um,
Yeah,
and so that kind of
Ashley's very interesting part of that game. There, after the castle stuff, she isn't as much of a detriment. Like it gets better, I will say. And there are certain sections after that where she will be like kidnapped in a story sense. So you have to go find her.
yeah,
So you won't have to deal with her as much, but it gets a little better. Like,
yeah. And I know there are segments where you play as Ashley, like relatively limited segments. I think this is like one of the first times like Resident Evil had like experimented with like changing perspective between characters in that way. Um, like Resident Evil's always had like the alternate route thing, but like within one narrative, changing perspectives. I don't know if it happened
no,
before
yeah, and
four.
this game has that, and then you get to. They'd have like the Ada Wong missions later, which are super cool. Those are some fun parts of that
Yeah,
game.
yeah. Ada's cool stuff, man.
She has like a little pump shotgun that's really fun when you get to play as her, and she will do every territory Leon goes to, but it'll be one chapter instead of 4 or 5 or whatever. Do you
Yeah,
how'd you do against the lake monster? I think that's like a notable boss fight that I like really enjoy from like that first half of the game.
I think it killed me once. Um, and I don't even remember why necessarily. Like, I'm pretty sure I let it just because it's like I don't have stuff that I need right now because I made like some bad purchases at the merchant. So I was just like, I just want to go back and get and change up what I bought. Um, it's an interesting enough sequence. I don't understand where the infinite harpoons you get are coming from, but um, like it's a fun enough sequence, especially once you like get the hang of turning the boat so it doesn't hit debris. Um, or like the what was it, the like the after not the aftershocks, but like the what's the term for like waves that come out of like a moving object that like sort of surround a moving object in water.
We just call them waves. Yeah.
They're just yeah, whatever.
Right.
I feel like there's just a specific term, but like the waves that like form in the wake of this um fish like moving through the ocean, like moving through
Yeah.
this lake and like
This
causing your boat to flip.
this what I will call genetically enhanced giant fish, which is very on par with like the weird creatures you will meet in like Resident Evil 1 notably it has like you like fighting a giant spider or some or a snake or something.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
like one of the first bosses is that giant snake in one. Yeah, and it's playing this game. It's really like archaic in some ways. Like the camera is not great. Like this is still very much a game where like you move with tank controls in this game. Um, like you don't have the fixed camera angle, but Leon like Leon's movement is still very much like influenced by this like series' history with tank controls, and that can get that can get to be something. It's not as like annoying as it could be in like say like the original Resident Evil or like RE2's original port, but it can still cause like a lot of awkward like moments where you're trying to get somewhere that really requires like to do a specific button prompt like jump out a window and
Yeah,
such.
man. At the time, I must have played the shit out of this game. This is probably my favorite Resident Evil game. I think I like the action setting that this does a lot. Whereas like Resident Evil 2 came out and it wasn't like it was very unpredictable on how to like kill the zombies. Sometimes they would take like, like 9 shots. Sometimes it would take 2. I really like how definitive this is of like, oh, you shoot the legs and you press the button prompt and you can sweep it and
Yeah.
then like
Well,
knife
yeah,
it on the ground and stuff.
you have so many different ways to interact with things in this game, right? Like in Resident Evil 2, like Resident Evil 1 to Code Veronica, right? Your most effective thing to do is if you have a high power weapon, you wait for the zombie to get close to you and you have the model like aim their gun up, like aim their gun up, because if the zombie gets close enough to you while you're aiming the gun up and like right at them, that'll be a headshot. And you can put them like down on the ground in like less than 3. And that's really the only way you can really interact with zombies in that way. In Resident Evil 4, you get to a point where like enemies throw their weapons at you and you can shoot their weapons out of the air
Yeah, and that's really
as they're
cool.
as
And
they're coming at
and
you.
this game did the thing that I really like that got picked up by a couple stuff and then got dropped after. It's just the laser sight on the gun. So you just
Yeah.
have like your targeting to where you're going to be able to hit them and stuff. I know they did a reticle for like 6, but I think you can put the laser back on it.
Yeah, yeah. Like once you get to like in 5 they stuck with the laser. In 6 you have some you have like guns that it varies, right? Like I think sniper rifles all have lasers. Machine guns have um, reticles and such. And then you get to, the other games. I think like Resident Evil 2 Remake features, in Claire's run specifically, features a gun with a laser sight as opposed to a reticle.
And I
So
just
it's just it's a
I love the combat like flow of this game. Like the
oh yeah,
village
like
is like one of the coolest areas to like openings of a game where you're in that you get past like that first area and then you're in the village where they ring the clock tower bell and you're just like for me I was like second and third playthroughs of this is just me running around shooting some dudes and then running to another area of the the village shooting some more dudes and then running to another area and collecting everything as I go.
yeah, like this is like there's a reason Resident Evil 4 informs like the rest of Resident Evil. Like everything that comes after that is in some way, shape, or form like trying to live up to 4 in a way, and is like heavily informed by like the design decisions made in this, whether it be how they stack encounters or how like really just how the player like interacts with the world. Because like after Resident Evil 4, I can't think of a Resident Evil game where you have fixed camera angles ever again.
Yeah, well, speaking up to games that are like living up to the hype of it, do you think you've been playing Resident Evil Revelations as well? How's that been like
Yeah,
comparatively as you're playing through both of them?
I mean the thing to note with Revelations is the PC port I'm playing is like this is a game that was originally published on the Nintendo DS. Um, or maybe like the 3DS, one of those two.
Correct.
So like when I look at it compared to 4, there's notably like some more cut corners and Revelations. Um, it's like gunplay is not nearly as good. It's enemies do not react to your to like bullets in the same way. Like you can still like if an enemy has a projectile, you can probably shoot that projectile out of the air. I've done it a few times. But something you note is like in 4 the animations of enemies are so precise that like when an enemy is down unless its head explodes and like a parasite comes out of it, right? In Resident Evil Revelations, enemies are so over animated and so bland that I never know if the animation the enemy's doing is like recovering from a bullet or is like its final death throes, right? Um, so there will be times where I just end up wasting a bullet, and really the only dependable way to know if an enemy's dead or not is if your AI partner, because Revelations is when they get back to giving you. Actually, no, because every Resident Evil game after 4 did it. But like Revelations is like when they're still doing like the main character and a partner, right? Mostly in Revelations, you're playing as Jill Valentine, and this being like the first time she's led a game since 3, um, along with a partner, new character, guy by the name of Parker, as you're like trapped on a cruise ship.
Yeah, and I
And the
think
only,
I think like Revelations 2 fixes some of the problems that 1 had, but this takes place on like a
absolutely,
boat, doesn't it? Isn't this like all on a
yeah,
boat?
yeah, most of it is you on a ship, a cruise ship called like the Queen Zeneba, I think is the name of the ship. And like Jill and Parker get called there. He's like, "Oh, Chris has been captured," and turns out it was a lie. And they get like, they get captured, and now you're trying to figure out to get away off the boat while Chris and um, new character Jessica uh, are trying to figure out how to get Jill and Parker off of the boat, or trying to find them and get them off. And then also two other characters who are going to show up for, I guess, comedic relief chapters, maybe. Um, but yeah, so this is all taking place in like on mostly on this ship so far. And the thing about the ship too is every space is so narrow. Like all your spaces are so narrow, and the enemies are so large because they're not zombies. They're like very big. Like the closest I'd say is the molded from Resident Evil 7, right? They're not the molded specifically, but like they kind of have that similar silhouette of like being larger than the character when you play
Yeah,
the character,
because the
and they can.
Queen Zenobia is the boat that crashes in 7 that causes like the outbreak to start there.
Then I think it might be a different thing. It might be because it's not connected to 7 in that
Hmm.
way. Because the whole setup for
Well, it's
this
in
boat,
5. It's in 5. I know that.
because the whole setup for this ship in Revelations is it's a cruise liner that's been taken over by a terrorist organization called Veltro, I think. Yeah, this is Veltro, and they're gonna release like a updated T virus because this is still very much at the point where narratively, Resident Evil is very sort of about eugenics in a real way. Um, Sort of like the decline of that after 5, where it was just the whole point of Albert Wesker is that he's a eugenicist and neo-Nazi. Um, and so
Oh no,
I
you're
don't,
right. Different ship. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so it might be a completely different thing. I don't have like the name of the ship on me, but yeah, like 4 is like the production of 4 is so clean, right? Like everything about 4, aside from like movement, is very clean and very tellable. And I think that's like where I struggle with Revelations, even as I think there's a lot of gameplay stuff that I like in Revelations, that does get like beefed up in 2, right? Because 2 is also like the Resident Evil game I think I've probably spent the most time in because I really got into that raid mode at some point. Um, Yeah, but all in all, like they're two very different like flavors of Resident Evil because I think Revelations is still trying to be like survival horror. Like they're trying to get back to giving you some of that, to various degrees of success. And 4 is just this very like there's a reason 5 and 6 are the way they are. That's because like people really liked this bit of like 4,
Yeah,
where it is like
yeah.
mostly action
And then
adventure.
6 sunk the boat on that, and maybe we'll be
Eh,
back with our single remake for 4. I the first person stuff is different. I don't know if I'm as into it, but I think I think at the time people were really into Revelations on the 3DS. It was like cool that you got like this like not full Resident Evil game, but like you got like a Resident Evil game on like a portable console. At the time, it
yeah,
was very novel.
yeah. And Revelations was like like as an episode. I don't think is released episodically, but it does like is a game with that sort of structure, because this was at the time where everyone thought Telltale was making bank, making these episodic games, and people started experimenting with that. Um, and so like Revelations is really easy to pick up and put down because they're just like chapter summaries at like within like 40 minutes at the most, you know. So the other thing I'll say is like the transition Revelations makes from like 3DS to PC is not necessarily like that smooth. You know, like animations are, everyone looks better. Everything's been upscaled. The animations are still like kind of rough. You have this scanner in Revelations, which all you do there is you scan enemies and you're filling a percentage in your scanner. And this is, you do this by holding down the left bumper on a controller and holding down the right trigger. And as you like fill that percentage on your scanner, you get a healing item. Like you get a green herb, which is the only healing item in Revelations. So, you know, and you can scan live enemies. You can scan like their puddles of goo they leave behind. You can also scan bosses because there are bosses in this game, and they're mostly just, so far of the two I've faced, they're just bigger zombies with a one-hit kill ability.
Yeah. Well, that sounds cool. I've always wanted to play those games. I just don't think I. The only Resident Evil game I put the most time in was like 4 and 5. I don't think I've been back
Yeah,
since. Downloaded 7. I just haven't gotten to it, so I'll probably mess
yeah,
with it. I'll probably mess with
yes.
7. 8 has me really
Seven,
excited, wanting to play it because it's like very similar to like 4.
4, yeah. 7 is cool. I think it's horror. Like the horror of 7 really does come from the fact that it's made in VR. A lot of it, like you can play that whole game through in VR. So much of that game is creepy person getting really close to the camera, and then doing something really gross. Like the opening of that game is, you know, like they attempt to feed you like some really disgusting, air quote meal. Um, yeah, I'd say like, you know, if you ever feel like messing with Revelations, like it's, you know, it's really easy to get into. It's one of the most fun, I think. Um, they have the most complicated like lore and like narrative, like just sort of, I don't want to say complicated, but messy like narrative going on because it's the sort of as far as Resident Evil ever got in its like chronology before they decided to start like redoing it with Resident Evil 2 remake and Resident Evil 3 remake and probably the remake of 4 that's going to be coming out at some point.
So that's cool. I'm glad you dipped in, played a little bit of 4. 4 is great. It's a cool game to get around to. I played
Speaking of
Necromunda
cool
Hired
guns,
Gun. There's some cool guns in Necromunda Hired Gun. If you like bolt guns, okay. First off, this is a Warhammer 40k game. It takes place in
yeah,
like the 41st millennium of man. Praise the Emperor. But you get some bolt guns, which are like guns with like giant millimeter, like what I would call like grenade launcher rounds that shoot out of it. You don't feel that impact as much. It's just like you pick up a machine gun, a pistol, SMG. This is by the guys who did the Space Hulk co-op game, I believe. Space Hulk Deathwing. And these are what I will call European jank games, and they are optimized for PC and not as much on console. This came
yeah,
out 2 or 3 days ago. It's a budget price point. It's coming out for $40, and you could get it on sale if you pre-order it. So I was like, a couple hours before this game like launches, I see that it's like $33 on Series S. And I'm like, oh, this will probably play fine on my console. It's a little janky. You kind of have to turn the auto aim all the way. But to talk about this game, Necromunda is like it's like a spin-off of 40K where it's like small skirmish based like stuff, and they kind of get into that by you're on like it's a planet called Necromunda. It's like a mining planet, and there's like
yeah,
a bunch of gangs who run in this planet. So you're kind of meeting a couple of these. They're all like the Imperium of Man or Astra Militarum. These are like those are kind of like the guns you're picking up from like what they just call it's just the guard. They're just the dudes. They're not space marines. They're just like the colonial marines from Aliens, you know.
yeah. Just some fellas.
Just some fellas. There's wall running in this game. There's a grappling hook. It's kind of like Doom and Titanfall had a baby, but yeah, it's not optimized too well. I put a frame rate counter up on it because it lets you do that in the game, and I variantly go between 60 and 30. And then I realized, oh, this is what a locked frame rate is for. This is why games do this on consoles. Because you can get some problems going on. And I don't know. I think that this game probably needs a couple more patches, but so far it's pretty cool. You're kind of like a bounty hunter who drops on this planet. I kind of skipped some of the cutscenes because I just wanted to get to the gameplay. But yeah, you're just running around. You've got loot. You pick up some weapons, and you go through the first area, and you kind of crashed on this planet, I think, or your ship might have crashed from going from one place to another. But you're there, and then you go to a city, and they are hiring you to, like, as a mercenary, you know, where that's where, like, the hired gun name comes from.
Yeah.
But it's really cool so far. This game is beautiful on a Series S, but, like, yeah, it's not optimized that well. I would give a wait on this until, like, there's some patches coming out. I might try to get a refund for it or something. I haven't decided yet, but it crashed on me, and I was like, oh, I'll stop playing this. I'll go play. I was like, what else could I play? And I was like, I went on Game Pass, messed around. I was like, oh yeah, The Wild at Heart. I remember some people talking about that, and I ended up liking that a lot more. So it's probably something I'll probably end up playing more. Like, I was really excited to play this, and then it just, like, didn't go too well. But it's got Doom vibes, man. It's got, like, the soundtrack is pumping, like, at all times. And you have a dog. Yeah. You just press all the buttons in this game are remappable, which is really cool. Which I really love it when games do that. Like Titanfall and Apex do that, to where you can just do whatever you want to.
Yeah.
Whereas on, like, an Xbox controller, I'll put, like, jump on the left trigger, and I put zoom on, like, R3, and I have, like, a grenade on B, and my grappling hook on A. But it's neat. You get a dog, you can stick the dog at people, it's on a cooldown. But when you activate the dog, it'll highlight all the enemies for you. And this game has a really cool art style. You're running around, it's got that 40K gothic look where it's like all these, they look like cathedrals of these giant church buildings, and all the stained glass and weird spirals and shit.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, one of the things I know about Warhammer is that everything's just very big, and everything in this game looks very big.
Yeah, it's cool. You know, I'm on the fence. I paid $33 more for it. I might not wait for it to. I might not refund it. I might just wait, because the other game they made, Space Hulk Deathwing, that runs way better. Like, I got that on a base PS4 and it runs just fine. But that might have been after some updates and stuff. But these are definitely, like, the B tier of games and stuff. And you know, I played Destroy All Humans 2, but you don't need to talk about that much. That's just on Game Pass now. It's fun. It's an old PS2 game. You run around as an alien. And then, like, 2 weeks ago, I was kind of bored, and I downloaded Final Fantasy 14. And I remember I texted you about this, and it was like, hey, you want to play this with me? And you're just like, no. I'm like, all right, that tracks. We've talked about this before. You don't want to get into the MMO lifestyle?
Absolutely not.
No. But it's cool. I just, it's free to level 60 right now, and there's a bunch of classes. So I remember I had a cat person who I made, like, 2 years ago. Like, I got on, I was like, oh yeah, I tried starting this in 2019 and bounced off. But I got a little farther than that. They have a bunch of servers. They have North American, European, and Japan servers. And I found out that there's, like, in the North American servers, there's, like, 6 different, like, smaller servers that each house, like, a couple of the individual servers. So, like, you can get on, you'll be on Crystal server, which is a sect of, like, 6 different, the actual servers. And so two or three of the servers who have, like, a lower player count or something will have, like, increased XP by 2, but they're all full when you try to get on and make a character at 5 p.m. So to make a character, you have to get a lobby or, like, one of these servers that are not full. So I had to wait till like midnight to get on one of these servers to create a character. And then I make the character and I get on the next day and you are placed into a queue. It's like of 30 people, but it took like a minute to get on. So I'm on Goblin server. What's up, homies? And I made a paladin. It gives you like 8 classes to start out with. There's like a lance dude who's like a dragoon. You have a paladin who starts out as like a sword and shield dude. Then there's like a axe wielding guy. You have a pugilist who turns into a monk and they punch people. You know, punching. I can't remember what else sword and shield, like kind of what I would call like their DPS and tank classes are. Because when you get into like raids and stuff, there's like the DPS tank classes, which are like the dragoon or the warrior, which will just like are hitting people. I made a tank, which I'm playing as like a paladin who's a sword and shield who has some healing, and I definitely tank more. And then there's like the mages. There's like black mage, white mage, red mage, and then there's like a blue mage you can mess with. There's like a gun class too. It's like a machinist or something. But you know, it's just the MMO experience. There, you leave the town and there's a big field and you go kill a bunch of lizards and fucking crocodiles and shit. Except, you know, they're Final Fantasy enemies. And then you get the Final Fantasy music in the background. I'm vibing with this. I like Final Fantasy a lot. We've talked about my Final Fantasy-ness and like how I've played those kind of growing up, and I'm into the style of them. So I could see myself just hopping into this every now and then, getting a couple levels and hopping off. The coolest part is if you have one class for a character, you can switch your class at any time and be whatever class you want to. So if you get to 60 with one class on the trial, you can just change classes and get to 60 again if you'd like. It's cool. It was just relaxing. I don't have people who do MMOs and Destiny and shit will have like a second TV and be watching TV while they're doing it or playing a podcast. Yeah. But I was just sitting there listening to the Final Fantasy music and beating up animals and leveling up slightly faster than a normal thing would. So I'm like level 10 right now. It's fine. It does have the thing where you have to get your rotations. I don't know if that was like an MMO thing, but you get a bunch of abilities that are not your normal attacks. Some don't use MP and some do. So I'll set up an attack and it'll be R2 triangle, and then I'll press R2 square to combo into my square slot, which those two will combo together. It's like a higher attack, like uppercut, and then I'll do like a 360, and then I have some tank abilities where like I'll get like a tougher skin or whatever. But it's chill. You can get like, God, there's at least like 20 or 30 abilities per class or something. Then you pick the best ones, and you have like 16 different slots. You have R2 face buttons. You have R2 D-pad buttons. And then you have L2 face buttons and L2 D-pad buttons, which are where you put your like abilities down on. It's a video game, Austin. It's an MMO.
Yeah.
You have never struck me as an MMO person.
No.
I think you should. If you want to sit somewhere in an open world, I would suggest Final Fantasy 15 if you want to do that, or Final Fantasy 12. Final Fantasy 12 I also played. That's a single player MMO. That game is an MMO.
Yeah,
and it's like combat.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing: if I want to just sit in a game world and just not do anything, I have no shortage of options that do not include logging onto a server where someone is going, or some random person I don't know is going to just start slinging slurs at me. It's right. So I am pretty good, all things considered.
Thankfully, haven't run across that yet. I did see people just running around. There's like a chat log. You can change the chat log to like group only or party only, which is nice. It's just been a single player thing. I've just been by myself. And then apparently they were saying the raids and dungeons are stuff you co-op into. Much like in Overwatch, everybody wants to play the DPSs, so if you pick a tank or a healer class in the beginning, your queue times are smaller, which I was like, oh, that's cool. Maybe I'll just be a paladin, whatever. I'll fill tank easy. I'll probably get back to it more when I get my Austin apartment, because these are like my side games that I don't really mind. Like, this is not something I'm playing for our podcast. It's just something I'm chilling with. So right now it's Final Fantasy 14 and like GTA 5, which I have a campaign in that I'm just running around, just hanging out in the world, whatever.
Cool, cool. I'm glad the Realm Reborn is doing it for you. They worked hard on that one.
They did. They worked hard to bring it back, and then they're at two or three DLCs right now, and then the last one is coming out.
Yeah, Endwalker. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's like what Heavensward, um, the other one, the one Tom Holland was in a lot of ads for,
Yes, yes. Shadowbringer was one of them.
Shadowbringer. Yeah, it's like
Um, they're at the fourth expansion right now. Yeah.
yeah, Endwalker's coming out, and people are really excited for that one. That's
Yeah.
gonna destroy my Twitter timeline for a bit.
Thankfully, they have a pack that you can get that's like the 3 DLCs for this game for like $25. So they sell them in packs, unlike Destiny, which like they were kind of all spread out for a while. So I could see myself just messing around with this every now and then. It's fine. Heaven's Ward, Stormblood, and Shadowbringers.
That's right, Stormblood. Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about Stormblood. There's a samurai class you get if you buy like Heaven's Ward or something, which I'm like, oh, that's
Don't
cool.
you have access to Heavensward on the trial?
I might. Yeah, level cap's 60, so I can get to Heaven's Ward with it.
Yeah, so the free trial. I don't know if it's going to include like I'm sure there's stuff that you have to pay to get like fully,
I think that might
but
be
yeah,
in Stormblood then. Stormblood goes up to 70. Shadowbringer doesn't say 80.
yeah.
Yeah.
But that's like the whole thing with that
Yeah.
trial is like you go play up to level 60, you have access to Heavensward. Even if I was interested in Final Fantasy, that's just like a time commitment. I don't know if I can do. Like I tried getting
Yeah.
into the Old Republic, um, like last year and earlier this year, and just the amount of time it took to get off that starting planet, just couldn't do it. That's
Yeah.
not at
Oh,
all.
and these games started out as PS3 games. These games kind of the HUD of these games are still kind of like PS3 PC games. But it's cool
Yeah,
they're on PS4. They're putting out a PS5 version for Endwalker. You know, the ramp up isn't too bad, I'll say. If you wait for one of those servers to have the server multiplier on it, it lasts for like 90 days. I got to level 10 in like 2 hours. It was fucking crazy. I was like, oh, cool. I just have more abilities now. Great. Because I started out as a soldier or something, or a gladiator or something. And then when you get to 10, you get your class, like the endgame classes. So I got to be my paladin, and I started getting some healing stuff. It's cool. I'm just chilling with it, and people seem to like this better in fucking in World of Warcraft right now, which is kind of wild because that was like the staple of these. I don't know if the player count is as similar because this is free and like World of Warcraft is like something paid for. But it's cool that they give you up to 60 for free. I'm like, oh, nice, that works. I'll get.
yeah. I don't like the MMO sort of the ebb and flow of like which MMO is on top right now is a whole thing. I know like there's renewed interest in Warcraft because of WoW Classic, but
Oh yeah, Burning Crusade coming out soon again.
yep, yep. Can pay to get access to that again, like pay for
Yeah.
races that I think probably exist in current like up to date WoW.
Yeah. So, yep, that's what we've been playing this week. We, if all things come to what we expect they will be, might be Monday and Tuesday next week after the E3 coverage. That Battlefield thing is going to be on the 9th, actually. So in 3 or 4 days, I get to look at some Battlefield, so I'm ready for that. And then EA Play will be on like, what are they saying, the 17th
July.
or 19th for the rest of it?
What EA Play?
I think
EA
it was.
Play is going to be in July.
I think it was June 19th. I might have said July by accident.
No,
Let me
no,
double
the
check.
EA Play stuff is scheduled as July.
I'll take your word for it, but they do the Battlefield stuff is separate from that, which is
Yeah,
cool.
like the Battlefield reveal is different.
Yeah.
It's
Oh yeah,
Like,
July. That's weird. I guess
yeah.
they're also doing the Sony thing, giving themselves some space a little. Ooh, Star Wars Squadrons is up for free now too. I'm gonna go download that and not play it. All right, it's good talking with you, Austin.
That's the curse of having too many games.
Curse of having too many games. This is true. All right, we will be back next week, Monday or Tuesday. They'll probably go up on Wednesday.
Really,
and,
whenever we can.
Yeah. Until then, Austin, hey, if I wanted to read tweets from Austin Taylor,
if you wanted to give yourself that kind of experience, you can find me on twitter.com at beardless2 TWO.
And I'm at Travis23 Doyle on Twitter. I'm trying to see what the last thing you tweeted about is. Donnie Yen is in John Wick 4, and you said cool. I watched a bunch of Ip Man, and Donnie Yen's fucking crazy, dude.
Yeah,
that man is a badass.
I have some pretty significant problems with like John Wick 3. And like I'm kind of I don't want to say tired, but I am pretty skeptical of like what a fourth John Wick movie can bring to the table. But then there's like, oh, Donnie Yen's in it, and I'm just like, cool, all right. I guess I'm going to that theater. If it's safe. So just like that, I'm already back into it. John Wick 4.
There's a tweet saying anyone who posts an Aloy picture on your Twitter wall will owe you $500. So that's what I'm gonna do right now.
Not like a Aloy picture.
Yeah, just a cursed one.
And you already sent one. Like, no, it's specifically the one.
It's this one, right?
The one that you already put. No, like the one where she's wearing the sunglasses. No, it's the picture of Aloy that some idiot had done a mock-up of.
Yeah.
Complaining about her current sort of design in Horizon Forbidden West, and
was pretty dumb.
And was like, oh, like this doesn't look like she looks like so like air quote like non-feminine here.
Yeah. Internet's dumb, as it turns out.
And they like put like lipstick on her and just insane amount of makeup. Like, this is what Aloy should look like. Hire fans to design your characters, and I don't have the physique to do it, but I would just love to throw some people through the table sometimes.
It's true. I also posted a cursed picture on there, but it's a different one. But
you'll
have to get here next week before you can find out. Till next time.
You just put a Fortnite pic on it, and that's fine. Like, that's just Aloy.